Buen día, Mike. Gracias por estar en el canal. Bienvenido. Bueno, es un gusto poder hablar de su cine. Yo sé que tienes un documental que más adelante Andrés le hablará sobre ello, pero quisiera preguntarle sobre cómo fue la experiencia en poder editar dos videoclips musicales sobre John Carpenter. Uno para Escape de Nueva York y Distant Dream.
Man, this is a great question. Before we talk about that documentary, you got the opportunity to edit two videos from the greatest, John Carpenter. So tell us how was that editing videos because we know that people that watch horror knows that he got a really impressive musical career, but most people don't know that.
Yeah, John Carpenter, of course, is a musician as well. He tours, with his group, and I was fortunate to have been able to work on two of his music videos several years ago for Distant Dream and Escape from New York. We recorded two videos, and that was the first time that I met John Carpenter, and it was an amazing experience. So it was very cool to see him actually performing music. And one of the best parts, of course, was when we were on a lunch break. We were in the other room, and we hear the theme to Halloween playing in the other room. Right, it was we were in a music studio, so so all of a sudden we hear the theme to Halloween, and we go in there, and then there he is with his son playing the theme to Halloween on the piano, and that was one of the most amazing experiences that I ever had. So that was really great. But yeah, John Carpenter loves music, and we of course thought he would be great for the documentary as well because he is a horror legend who also understands music very well.
John, hay una anécdota muy buena, esto que creo que resume todo. Cuando él trabajó con él y él se sentó con el equipo, él empezó a escuchar, porque estaban cerca de un estudio de grabación, el tema de Halloween, y cuando ellos se acercaron al estudio, pues era John Carpenter tocando ese tema con el hijo. Dice que obviamente fue que por su experiencia pues como una leyenda del terror, pero también de la música, él estuvo también en el documental, obviamente. Entonces continúa.
Bueno, hay también otro aspecto y es el tema de las entrevistas. Yo sé que has contribuido para edición y también para un capítulo 2 sobre Howard Stern, el show que es muy conocido allá en los Estados Unidos y que obviamente es un grande ahí. Entonces, ¿cómo es la experiencia en esta parte técnica?
And going back early years also, you worked with Howard Stern, man. We know that he's a legend back there.
Yeah.
So tell us more, tell us more.
Okay. Yeah, in 2006 or 2007, Howard had left his old radio studio and moved to satellite radio, to Sirius satellite. And when he did that, he wanted to start a new television program. So my friend, who was already hired for a position, knew that I was a video editor at that time. So he asked me if I wanted to come on and work, do some freelance work for the show. So I said, of course, because I was also a huge Howard Stern fan for many years. And so I took the opportunity, and I worked for a couple of years editing. And then I also did videography, and then I was producing. So I was with them for almost 8 years. And that was, of course, an amazing experience. I had a lot of fun. And also because of the connections I made at that show, that's what eventually led me to meeting the people who would help me, get this documentary started as well.
That's what I'm going to ask you, and I will ask John if he let me. John, él habló algo que es sobre el documental. ¿Sigues con otra o yo?
Tú sigues.
Okay, now it's my turn. And yeah, man, that's the thing that I was going to ask you, because I know that Howard is a metalhead. Or he said it's fun. I was watching all interviews with those bands, Slipknot, a lot of metal bands back in the show. So yeah, how do it came out to do a documentary about the two things that not only I love, but a lot of people love? Horror and heavy metal.
Yeah. So in 2014, my friend Robert Lucas, he invited me to Kirk Hammett's horror festival in California, and he asked me to come and do some photography and some videography for the event. And of course, it was just automatic. It was no question that I would be there. So I flew out to California, attended the convention. It was for 2 days, and Kirk Hammett wanted to put on an event that brought together his two favorite things, which were heavy metal and horror. And after the weekend, I was just thinking about everything that I saw with all of the heavy metal and horror celebrities and everything. I realized that no one had made a documentary yet about the connection between heavy metal and horror. And I thought it was, probably a good opportunity to start one. And so I was talking to my friend, Robert, and he also agreed that there hadn't yet been a documentary made on heavy metal and horror together. So we started the project back in 2014. Started putting together the idea. And then I think in late 2014, then we started filming. And then I attended another one of Kirk Hammett's festivals. He did two of them. So in 2015, I did the other one as well. And that's where we also interviewed Kirk and John Five and Charlie Benante and a lot of other guys in metal bands. And for several years after that, we just kept continuing to film interviews. But that's basically how it started, going to Kirk Hammett's convention.
Lo de Jaguar es una locura porque Jaguar se había mudado de su programa radial a hacer de televisión. Fueron 8 años de trabajo. Y lo increíble es que gracias a todos los contactos que están en el documental son los que fueron al show de Jaguar Stern, porque pues creo que mucha gente sabe que Jaguar entrevistó muchísimas bandas de metal y sigue entrevistando muchas bandas de metal. Y luego el documental comenzó yendo, un amigo lo invitó en el 2014 al festival de cine que hace Kirk Hammett, a los 2 festivales de cine. Obviamente Maya aceptó, o sea, como que, ¿cómo no va a decir que no? Y ahí fue que empezó las entrevistas que llevan a este documental, pues con Charlie Benante, con con el guitarrista de Marilyn Manson y con otra serie de personas. Continúas. Okay, John, John led me the more questions, but more than questions, I want to talk because I knew that last year was, in fact, we told with the winner from Best Documentary Bad There on Sitges, that was King's Video, but it was crazy, the directors, because they're both. But I was watching it, they were crazy because in that category, the horror documentary, you were nominated. There were a lot of good stuff in documentary. So yeah, how is the reception? Because my friend John and myself, we are doing a documentary about horror, and it's crazy because that has become like a new category. People are starting to embrace this kind of documentaries. I don't know, tell us how was the reception? I don't know what the people told you in the festivals, what the metalheads has told you on the festivals.
Oh, the reaction was great. I've been in the film festival circuit for a few years, and the amazing thing is that the Sitges Festival was, the one that I really wanted to get into, because that is one of the best horror, festivals in the world. And I didn't really know how to submit to them. I didn't have any connections to the festival, but for some reason, they contacted me. I guess they heard about my film and they wanted to have it in their festival. So, when I was sort of finishing all the festivals and everything, I won a lot of awards and I traveled to several of them. This was a great way to sort of end the festival run, to have one of the biggest festivals in the world contact me and ask, to have my film be part of the festival. So that was, of course, amazing. And of course, I had to go out there. I'd been to Barcelona once before, amazing city. And then just going to Sitges for the first time was fantastic. So I went there for a few days, and it was such a good festival because, the fans in Spain are so respectful of the genre and the filmmakers that, once they sit down in their seats to watch a film, they don't leave. which sometimes happens here in the States where, maybe there's a festival and some people, they sit around for a few minutes and then they go to something else and they come back and there's a lot of movement. But, at Sitges, everyone was so respectful and they sat down and they watched the entire film and they get really excited for a lot of the effects in the film. I had some effects in part of my film as well. There's a short film that, sort of a wraparound story to the documentary. So there's some effects that the fans really liked there. And even just when the opening title came up, everyone just started applauding and they loved it. So it was definitely probably the best film festival experience I ever had.
Let's remember, because last year Sitges was historical. I mean, you know that whenever Lords won, and it's a huge deal. And by the way, a big hi to Demian. Demian was here on the channel. He got a metal band. He's crazy because, Argentina winning, Latin America winning. Our horror is being watched all around the world. And it's crazy because he got an experience that Slash watched, because like here, Slash is a big fan of horror. He watched the movie, he take a picture with him. So yeah, that's why I'm going to ask you. I was watching the trailer and it's crazy because that seems like the musician slash director. I mean, Rob Zombie. I mean, all these people that he's doing horror and metal. How we came out with the interviews with the I don't know. That's more because you talk a lot with idols of myself, a lot of people. So how we came out with these interviews and talking with people that also do horror and metal.
Yeah, I mean, when we started, we just put together a list of all the people that we thought would be great to interview. We knew that we needed mostly heavy metal artists who we knew were fans of horror. And I mean, almost every heavy metal artist automatically is a fan of horror. So that was fairly easy. But of course, we wanted to, get people like Kirk Hammett and Rob Zombie and, Corey Taylor, people who always talk about horror films. So we knew that they would be great people to interview right away. And so, some people we got through friends, people who already knew who they were, or we would go to horror conventions and then just go to, the horror stars table or whatever, if we had a horror convention, and just go to the table and ask them if they want to be interviewed. And then we would just, set up the interview that weekend. And then sometimes we would just contact the band's management team, just get their contact information. And I would just tell them what the project was and who we already interviewed. And so a lot of it happened that way. And some were very quick and some took about a year and a half. Rob Zombie took a year and a half to get his interview. Of course, because he's very busy with films and, recording music and touring and everything. It was very difficult to actually get him for the documentary, but he was, there was always interest, which is great. So it was just constant communication with the management. With Dave Mustaine, we got invited to go to interview him at his home, which was very nice, and he was very friendly and welcoming and everything. So that was really great, and that took place fairly quickly after we met him initially in California. So a lot of it was I think most of the people were we found, we were able to get the interviews through people we already knew. And then the rest was just contacting through management, and that's basically how it worked.
And it's crazy because that your movie also appears in another crazy subgenre that are the metal documentaries. I mean, the things that Sandon has done. So I wanna know, because you are visiting the festivals, what the metalheads had told you, but also what the horror movie lover had told you, because you know that every metalhead is a horror movie lover, but not every horror movie lover is a metalhead. So there are very different crews and passionate people. So what the people from both crews have told you?
I think the both metalheads and horror fans, I think equally have been very receptive to the film and have all enjoyed it. I think most of the attention I get is from the horror fans. That seems to be the case. Also because it's been shown at a lot of horror conventions. It's not as easy to show the film at like a metal festival or something. Although I think it is going to be shown at a festival coming up in Spain fairly soon this summer as a metal festival. So they're having a film screening out there. So I think they're going to be showing it there as well, which will be great. But yeah, I mean, it is true. I mean, I think most metalheads are fans of horror. And I do think also most, I think it goes both ways. But one thing that I learned from filming the documentary is that, all of the metal artists that I interviewed are all, of course, fans of horror. It's automatic. But the horror artists, which are also a lot of them were of an older generation. They didn't grow up with heavy metal. They grew up maybe with hard rock, maybe Led Zeppelin or some of the earlier bands. So they weren't really big fans of metal. So when I would ask them, like, if they have any favorite heavy metal bands or artists, they said, well, I'm not really a fan of metal, and like Tom Savini is an example of someone who has worked, of course, with Alice Cooper and Dee Snider and everything. And he's worked on projects with metal artists, but he's not really a fan of a lot of the music, especially not the more modern, really heavy type of metal. The older generation isn't really too keen on that. Some of the younger horror artists, they're a little bit more into metal. I've found out. So I think a lot of it is just very generational. I think the older generation is not really too big on modern metal, but all the current, all the horror people are kind of like the younger ones are more into metal than the older ones.
John, creo que he hablado mucho, no sé si quieras preguntarle algo, entendiendo, porque por ejemplo le dije que tú también estabas haciendo un documental, que obviamente está manejando dos tipos de públicos, ¿no? Que es el del metal y el del horror. Dijo que lo de Sigdes fue increíble, él fue allá, la gente aplaudió incluso el inicio de la película, y que lo bello de Sigdes es que nadie se para, ¿no? O sea, si hay 10 películas ese día, salen las 10 películas ese día, y mira lo difícil, John, duró un año consiguiendo a Rob Zombie. No fue el más difícil de conseguir, ¿no? Te digo. ¿Tienes preguntas?
Uy, es más difícil de conseguir. No, es que sí, son muy difícil. Pero...
I wanna ask you about, it's okay, the direction of photography from Played Against Sand, the Sam Schoenfeld story.
For the documentary about Sam Schoenfeld, the basketball player?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Well, that was a long time ago. Yeah, I haven't even seen the final film yet. So I don't really know how it came out, but yeah, that was early, and I don't even remember what year that was, but that was a really long time ago. But that was one of the first documentaries that I worked on. So I did, I filmed all of the interviews for that. And so we traveled. That was all, mostly on the East Coast. I think we went maybe as far as Arizona. But it was, I think it was like New York, Florida, Arizona. We did some traveling and filmed a lot of the interviews with former basketball players from the old team. But yeah, I was surprised to hear that question, because that was something I've never been asked about before.
About the first project, so I will ask you. I will translate. John dice que nunca le habían preguntado por eso, que él viajó por toda la costa oeste, que de hecho habló con jugadores de básquet de esa época, o sea, imagínate, que fue una serie de entrevistas, pero que eso es una locura, que eso fue hace muchísimo tiempo, y que pues que gracias porque nunca le han preguntado sobre ese proyecto. Okay, as a final, I know this is a crazy question, because you had told with, in fact, I will ask you about people that you had interviewed, but I need to do it. What is your favorite horror movie, and what is your favorite metal or rock band?
Yeah, that's a difficult one, because my opinions change sometimes over time. Sometimes if maybe if a new song comes out from a band that I like, then for a little while, that might be my favorite band. But I mean, some of the classics, of course. I mean, everyone says Metallica, but I mean, they really are one of the best metal bands in the world. I mean, if you go to one of their concerts, it's an amazing experience. But there, the other bands I like too, like Avatar and Lamb of God. and quite a few. Don't really have a favorite though. I mean, Slipknot, of course, is a great band that I've been following for years. And for films, it's also the same thing. I don't really have a favorite. There are some classics like, of course, Exorcist and The Shining, or like the classic horror films. But then, as far as maybe more obscure films, something like In the Mouth of Madness by John Carpenter is a film that's not as popular, as well known, but it is one of my favorite horror films of all time, because I just love the idea of just reality becoming so distorted that you don't really know what's real anymore. And I love that theme that's put into horror. So anything like that is fantastic. So, and I love surrealism. David Lynch is probably my favorite director. So yeah, I think it's very hard for me to say what a favorite is, but those are some of my favorites of both genres.
I need to ask that question because it's crazy. I mean, all these people that you mentioned, mostly you had interview with it, and it's great because you talk about a lot of the eras. I mean, Slipknot is another era, Metallica is another era, Avatar and Lamb of God, amazing bands by the way, is another era. But I will translate. Pues John, excelente, porque él dice que él siempre cambia. Dice que pues él podría decir que Metallica, pero que, y Slipknot obviamente, que obviamente tú sabes que le entrevistó a miembros de las bandas, pero dice que le gusta mucho Avatar y Lamb of God. Y en cine dice que él podría decir las de siempre, El Exorcista, pero que su favorita es En la Boca de la Locura, In the Mouth of Madness, de John Carpenter. Dice que eso es, no sé si tú quieras incluir eso en la entrevista o algo, digo, en el documental, yo no sé, tú hablarás con él, pero no sé, John, ¿qué entrevistó? O sea, ¿qué más quieres decir? ¿Ves? No sé.
Bueno, la pregunta que siempre le decimos, pero tenía otra duda. Está una historia de Steven Alexander que se llama Behavior. ¿Sí es verdad que tú hiciste la dirección de arte ahí?
Okay, John, continue with the crazy question. Did you make the art direction from Behavior from Steven Alexander?
Yeah, and he's been looking at my IMDb page, right?
Yeah, he's doing the IMDb, and I'm doing the metal one.
Yeah. That was a film that I helped. I think an assistant on that film. That was my friend Steven Alexander's. I think that was his first film project he did after college. We went to the same college, but we were maybe at least a year or two apart. So he had graduated before I did. And I think after school, this was his first feature film. So it was also a good opportunity for me to be on a feature project after school as well. So that was also a long time ago. I don't even remember when that was. That might have been probably late 90s, I think. So it was quite a long time ago. So we're really getting back into the old archives here. These are all films that I worked on that I've never spoken about before.
But somehow you need to speak it in some.
No, it's good. It reminds me of some of the things that I've worked on that I haven't really thought about in a while.
Yeah, John, que fue pues increíblemente es el proyecto, se podría decir, de colegio de grado de Steven Alexander. Ellos asistieron al mismo colegio, entonces imagínate. Y nada, John, ahí lo tienes.
¿Y cómo define el trabajo en una palabra y redes sociales, hombre?
Okay, and like always John does, the camera is yours. Not only invite people to watch this documentary and tell your social media so people can follow you, but try to define your career, your work in one word.
One word. Complicated, I think is the word. It's a very difficult business. I love it. I still struggle with it. It's not easy. It's when you're, still working on projects on your own without a team. It's especially difficult. But there are other things I'd like to do. I'd like to do more feature film work. And I think, I've written a few screenplays already, and I'm hopefully after this documentary, now with the connections I've made, hopefully I'll be able to direct my first feature film, which will hopefully be something I could work out in this coming year. But yeah, it's a very challenging business. I love it, but yeah.
and your social media and invite people to stay close to the documentary, man.
Yeah. So the website is metalhorror.com, and the social media with Instagram, Facebook, Twitter is at the Metal Horror. So everyone can just follow there. And I also sell copies of the Blu-ray and DVD directly through my website. I prefer if you go through my website because I make more money that way. But yeah, so they can find more information there and follow and see what else is coming, because I am working on the special edition of the history of metal and horror, which will include over 20 hours of interviews that didn't make the original film. So it'll have that. It'll have a soundtrack audio disc as well. And so, yeah, keep up with the social media, because then I'll be making some announcements on that pretty soon.
Man, you talk about hours and hours on interviews. And I remember what Sandun did, that he later the global metal, and they made it like a series. Man, hopefully some channel, some crazy streaming service buy that and God gave you money, and we can see all these interviews, man, because wow, I mean, for a horror and metal fan, it will be a pleasure.
Yeah.
And hopefully I won't talk about that, but I work in 2 movie festivals in Latin America. Hopefully the movie came here. I know he's in some festivals I don't know if in Colombia or Argentina, but man, I will tell you, I work in one in Venezuela, in one in Colombia. Hopefully I be able to see those on the, you send it and get selected, because man, that's music for my ears. And please share the link so John can show it when this interview is published, but I will translate. Pues John, obviamente, él dice que si entren al website, él lo va a dar, porque incluso está vendiendo Blu-rays y DVDs. Dice que así gana más dinero, porque incluso yo ahorita le voy a decir que él está más que invitado, porque se viene de pronto el otro año su primera película, no, o sea, de ficción. O sea, imagínate, él todo lo hace de manera independiente, lo que es una locura. Pues igual lo que tú haces, obvio. Y pues John, hay más de 20 horas de entrevista. Yo le dije que ojalá alguien le compre eso para poderlas ver. Que por cierto, te voy a decir algo, ¿no? Y voy a decir nombre propio, ¿no? Samai Killian también me dijo que ojalá alguien te compre las entrevistas y las muestre en un lado, ¿no? Solo te digo eso.
Por favor, ojalá. No, que así sea. Amén, man. No, mentira.
And before we take the final picture, man, yeah, you're also welcome. When the new movie gets on, this channel is your house now. But now I will take the picture. Hopefully the Iron Maiden t-shirt gets in. We will.
Okay.
It's all good,
Mike, gracias por la oportunidad, por el espacio, por todo. Muchísimas gracias.
Le diré que está nervioso. Mike, thank you for the opportunity. I was nervous, man, because you had told me a lot of my idols. But no, man, you're always welcome, and I loved about this interview, man.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me. This was really it was a fun chat, and I appreciate the questions that I didn't expect as well. So that was a nice that was a good surprise as well. But thank you guys very much for having me, and yeah, I hope to keep in contact, and I will be posting updates on the film and hopefully future projects as well. So I hope to talk to you both again.
And before I translate, don't worry, John is always unexpected, man. But I love that kind of question. John, que fue muy inesperado para él las preguntas, dice que fue muy divertido, pero que nada, que te va a mantener en contacto con todo, y que muchas gracias.
Oh, siempre. Thank you, Mike. God bless you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye, bye.
Okay.